Welcome to Mind Decoded, where we explore the psychology behind human behavior. Let's decode today's topic. You're stressed. That could mean two completely different things. Acute stress. You're giving a presentation in 10 minutes. Your heart races. You feel alert. Afterward, you calm down. That's healthy. Chronic stress. You've been overwhelmed for months. You feel tired but wired. You can't relax. You can't remember the last time you weren't stressed. That's killing you. Neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky spent decades studying stress and found that acute stress is protective and adaptive. Chronic stress is destructive and disease-causing. Your body can't tell the difference between a real threat and ongoing psychological pressure. If the stress never stops, the damage accumulates. Here's what acute stress is designed to do. You face a threat. Your hypothalamus activates your sympathetic nervous system. Adrenaline and cortisol flood your bloodstream. Your heart rate increases. Blood pressure rises. Glucose releases into your bloodstream for quick energy. Blood flow redirects from digestion to muscles. Your pupils dilate. Your immune system activates. This is the fight or flight response. It mobilizes your body's resources to deal with danger. After the threat passes, your parasympathetic nervous system activates. Heart rate slows. Blood pressure drops. Digestion resumes. The stress response turns off. This cycle of activation and recovery is healthy. It's how stress is supposed to work. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This content is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered medical, psychological, or mental health advice. If you're experiencing mental health concerns, please consult with a qualified mental health professional. Acute stress actually improves performance. Psychologist Robert Yerkes discovered that moderate arousal enhances cognitive and physical performance. This is the Yerkes-Dodson curve. Too little arousal, you're understimulated and underperforming. Optimal arousal, you're alert and focused. Too much arousal, you're anxious and impaired. Acute stress puts you at optimal arousal for a short period. You're sharper during the presentation because of the stress. You run faster when being chased because of the stress. Acute stress evolved to help you perform better when it matters most. That's adaptive. Chronic stress is acute stress that never turns off. The stressor doesn't go away. Your demanding job, your financial problems, your difficult relationship, your health concerns. These aren't discrete events you can fight or flee from. They're ongoing conditions you can't escape. Your stress response activates every day. It never fully deactivates. Your cortisol stays elevated. Your blood pressure stays high. Your heart rate stays elevated. Your immune system stays suppressed. What should be a temporary emergency response becomes your permanent baseline state. This is maladaptive. The cortisol problem is central to chronic stress damage. In acute stress, cortisol helps you. It increases glucose for energy. It suppresses non-essential functions like digestion and reproduction. After the threat, cortisol levels drop. But in chronic stress, cortisol stays elevated for weeks, months, years. Endocrinologist Selye found that prolonged cortisol exposure causes systematic damage. Elevated cortisol suppresses your immune system continuously. It interferes with sleep. It promotes fat storage, especially visceral fat around your organs. It raises blood sugar chronically, increasing diabetes risk. It damages the hippocampus, impairing memory. Cortisol is helpful short-term. It's toxic long-term. The cardiovascular system takes massive damage from chronic stress. Cardiologist Herbert Benson's research shows that chronic stress keeps blood pressure elevated. This damages blood vessel walls. It promotes atherosclerosis, the buildup of plaques in arteries. Chronic stress increases heart attack and stroke risk dramatically. The American Heart Association identifies chronic stress as a major cardiovascular risk factor, equivalent to smoking or high cholesterol. Acute stress briefly elevates blood pressure. That's fine. Chronic stress creates sustained hypertension. That's deadly. The immune system paradox is particularly important. Psychologist Janice Kiecolt-Glaser found that acute stress temporarily boosts immune function. If you're about to fight or flee, your body prepares to heal potential wounds. Immune cells mobilize. Inflammation increases briefly. This is protective. But chronic stress does the opposite. Sustained cortisol suppresses immune function. Your body can't maintain heightened immune activation indefinitely. It exhausts the system. Chronically stressed people have weaker immune responses. They get sick more often. They heal more slowly. They're more vulnerable to infections, autoimmune diseases, and cancer. Sleep is destroyed by chronic stress. Acute stress doesn't necessarily disrupt sleep. You give the presentation. You're stressed during it. Afterward, you relax and sleep normally. But chronic stress means you never stop ruminating. Psychologist Thomas Roth's research shows that chronic stress is one of the leading causes of insomnia. You lie awake worrying. When you do sleep, stress hormones fragment your sleep. You wake frequently. Your sleep is lighter. You wake unrefreshed. Poor sleep then increases stress, creating a vicious cycle. Psychologist Matthew Walker's research shows that sleep deprivation amplifies stress reactivity. You become more stressed by smaller stressors. The cycle intensifies. Mental health deteriorates under chronic stress. Psychologist Martin Seligman's research on learned helplessness shows that uncontrollable stress leads to depression. When stress is acute and controllable, you cope. You solve the problem or endure until it passes. When stress is chronic and uncontrollable, coping fails. You can't fix it. You can't escape it. Eventually, you stop trying. This learned helplessness is a direct path to depression. Chronic stress also fuels anxiety disorders. Your threat detection system stays activated. You perceive threats everywhere. Neutral situations feel dangerous. Your amygdala, enlarged by chronic stress, generates constant false alarms. The inflammation connection links chronic stress to disease. Psychologist Sheldon Cohen found that chronic stress triggers chronic inflammation. Acute inflammation is helpful. It's part of healing. Chronic inflammation is destructive. It contributes to heart disease, diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, autoimmune diseases. Inflammation is the common mechanism linking chronic stress to nearly every major disease. Your immune system stays partially activated, releasing inflammatory chemicals continuously. These chemicals damage healthy tissue. The damage accumulates over years. This is why chronic stress shortens lifespan. Telomeres provide biological evidence of stress damage. Telomeres are protective caps on the ends of chromosomes. They shorten with each cell division. Short telomeres mean cells can't divide anymore. This is cellular aging. Psychologist Elissa Epel's research shows that chronic stress accelerates telomere shortening. Chronically stressed people have shorter telomeres than their age-matched peers. They're biologically older. Chronic stress literally ages you at the cellular level. Acute stress doesn't affect telomeres. Only sustained, unrelenting stress causes this accelerated aging. Here's the critical difference in recovery. After acute stress, your body recovers fully. Cortisol drops. Blood pressure normalizes. Immune function restores. Sleep normalizes. You return to baseline. Chronic stress prevents recovery. There's no period of rest and restoration. Your body tries to recover, but the stress continues. Recovery processes get interrupted. Damage accumulates faster than repair mechanisms can fix it. Psychologist Bruce McEwen calls this allostatic load, the cumulative burden of chronic stress. Over time, the load becomes overwhelming. Systems begin failing. Controllability determines whether stress becomes chronic. Psychologist Stephen Meyer's research shows that controllable stress doesn't cause the same damage as uncontrollable stress. If you can do something about the stressor, it remains acute. You take action, the stress resolves. But when you can't control the stressor, it becomes chronic. You can't quit the job. You can't leave the relationship. You can't solve the financial problem. The lack of control transforms acute stress into chronic stress. This is why poverty is so harmful. It's not just the stress of having no money. It's the chronic stress of having no control over your economic situation. Social support buffers chronic stress. Psychologist Shelley Taylor found that strong social connections reduce the physiological impact of stress. When you have support, stressors feel more controllable. You're not dealing with them alone. Cortisol levels are lower in socially connected people facing stress compared to isolated people facing the same stress. Loneliness amplifies chronic stress. Without support, every stressor feels bigger and more unmanageable. The stress becomes overwhelming because you're carrying it alone. Exercise is one of the most effective interventions for chronic stress. Psychologist John Ratey's research shows that aerobic exercise reduces cortisol, improves sleep, reduces inflammation, and promotes neurogenesis in the hippocampus. Exercise provides a physical outlet for the arousal that chronic stress creates. It metabolizes stress hormones. It activates recovery systems. 30 minutes of moderate exercise most days significantly reduces chronic stress damage. This isn't optional wellness advice. It's necessary physiological intervention. Understanding the difference between acute and chronic stress changes how you assess your own stress. Occasional high-stress events aren't the problem. Those are acute. They're manageable. The problem is ongoing, unrelenting pressure with no resolution in sight. That's chronic. That's dangerous. If you can't remember the last time you felt truly relaxed, you're in chronic stress. If Sunday night dread about Monday has become your permanent state, you're in chronic stress. If you're always tired but can't sleep, you're in chronic stress. This isn't normal. This isn't sustainable. This is biological damage accumulating in real time. Acute stress is life. Chronic stress is slowly killing you. And that's how the mind works. If this helped you understand yourself better, subscribe for weekly psychology insights. Thanks for watching.